now, as long as that's okay with everyone. And my name is Fran Boston. I'm from the careers team at the uni, and I'm joined by Kay. Do you want to give a wave, Kay?
Hello.
Yeah, from admissions. So it's good to have you on board, everybody. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do want to ask a question, I can see that most of you are muted anyway, so that's good, and your cameras are off. But if you do want to ask a question, please use the chat function or raise your hand, and that would be great. And you can put live captions on if that helps you by the 3 dots there. Can you see that bar that I'm looking at, Kay, or can you just see the slides?
Yeah, I can see the bar.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. So let me see if I can get... I don't know how to get rid of the bar, to be honest. Just stays there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just stays there. Okay, well, I hope you can see the slides beyond that. So this session is all about postgrad study, and oh, it's gone. That's good. We know that there are slightly increased numbers of people applying for postgrad study. Do you have any figures on that, Kay, in terms of the numbers that are applying? And
I don't, to be honest. We haven't had an update for a while yet, but we normally get the bulk of applications from really now until September. So our numbers will increase from now, with obviously students graduating and making that decision. So
okay, that's great. Okay, thank you. I think the first thing to say is that the first thing to look at in the session would be in terms of the types of postgrad study. So we're going to look at the types of postgrad study, and we're also going to look at things like Kay's going to take you through how you apply, what can you expect in that process when you apply to Leeds Beckett for a postgrad course, and how that kind of pans out. So hopefully you'll leave the session with more of an idea of what courses exist and how to actually go about applying for them. And I'd also like to cover a little bit on, is it worth it? You know, because students often ask us that in the careers team, is it actually worth doing a postgrad course? So give you a bit of kind of data there that might help that decision-making process. So starting off by thinking about types of postgrad study. I think people often think about things like in the blue box. We've all heard of master's programs, we've heard of MBAs and PhDs, but there are lots of other postgraduate programs, such as postgraduate diplomas. So for example, an example of that might be a HR diploma. We offer also things like professional qualifications. So that might be in something like surveying, a professional qualification. We have a large range of teacher training postgraduate programs and things like conversion courses. So if you're doing a degree, in some cases it's possible to convert your degree. Have you heard from, oh, I'm just looking at a message that's come through, sorry. So thinking about if you're doing, for example, a non-law degree, you can convert that into a law degree, or things like surveying courses, you can convert a non-surveying course to become a surveyor. So there are a range of postgraduate courses, and we would say do check out. I'll show you the online prospectus in a second where you can find out information about that, because it is definitely wider than master's degrees. Do you want to add anything there, Kay?
No, I think it's all stuff I'll get onto in a few moments, really. Yeah, we offer a range of courses which are all available. It's worth looking at the online prospectus as you're going to show them.
Yeah.
To have a look to see what we do offer and the full range of those programs.
Yep. Okay. Right. So here we go. We've got the online prospectus here. That will take you through. That's a hyperlink. Let me see if it will work here. So you can search. You can see there's 225 postgraduate programs here, and obviously these are kind of alphabetically listed pre-sessional courses. But do have a look at kind of what is available. You can see there's a, different things like attendance types. And I'm guessing, Kay, that will kind of alter in terms of distance, might be more distance learning, coming online.
Yes, yeah. We do offer a range of distance learning courses as well. I think you can amend the online prospectus to just search by distance learning courses.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you do, yeah, there is a distance learning subject group that you can search through if you prefer not to be on campus at all throughout.
Yeah, so you could
your
go
master's
there
study.
and
Yeah.
have a look at that, can you? There was also a button there to check whether courses starting in September or the autumn, and then some more starting in January. Potentially that would be an option for some people that may want to look at that. Is that quite common, Kay, in terms of people starting a bit later on?
Yeah, we tend to get the bulk of those applications probably after September, as people do tend to apply for the intake they're most interested in and the most recent one coming up. But it is, yeah, there is the option as well when you do apply, if you apply for September and then decide, oh, actually I'd rather wait until January, then we could look at deferring your application to that intake if you wish. You would just need to email us a request if that's something that you would be interested in.
Okay, that's useful to know. It gives a bit of flexibility, doesn't it, if a student?
Yes, yes.
I'm guessing there's some students that might be thinking of looking for a grad job, and if that's not kind of panning out in the circumstances at the moment, then it's good to know that you could still enroll on a course maybe to start in January.
Yes, yeah. Not all courses offer options to start in January. So you are probably best looking at the online prospectus because it will have the start dates listed there. So some courses do only run in September, so it is worth looking at that to see if you have the option.
Okay. There is another hyperlink there to the online open day that will be happening in a couple of weeks. So that's definitely worth attending. Obviously, there won't be any physical face-to-face at postgraduate open day, but that online open day, there'll be talks and presentations there that you can have a look at, and you will be able to talk to staff from the different course areas. So that's definitely worth taking advantage of. And the other thing is there is a talk to student function, isn't there, Kay, in admissions?
Yes, I think it's our marketing colleagues do run that service and then pass on any queries to us. But there is, when you're looking on the online prospectus, I think a pop-up box where you can submit queries to us, and there will be someone, I think between 9 and 5 live sitting there who can answer any queries that you have.
We all like immediate responses, don't we, now?
Yes,
these days?
yeah.
We like the chat function. So guys, if you do have any queries, then that's a good one to be aware of as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're all ways in which you can find out more about what's on offer at Leeds Beckett. So in terms of thinking about funding, I'm guessing that you are maybe concerned about how you are going to fund your program. So although at the beginning we said, okay, there's lots of different courses in terms of you can do a postgraduate diploma, it's maybe not as long and not as intense. However, it's worth bearing in mind that the government funds, in the same way it funds your undergraduate studies, you can apply to student finance for a master's loan. So the course has to be a master's. And again, there's a link there to get more information on that. None of you will be thinking about doing a doctorate, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there are obviously funding arrangements for people who want to do things like healthcare courses. Again, you can do a shortened degree in nursing if you've got a non-nursing degree, for example, or if you want to do something like social work or teacher training. There are independent, there's different funding arrangements for those types of qualifications. I've put the money advice helpline there at the uni, so please do, if you want more support or help with funding your studies, then that's the place to go for help and support there. Just to let you know, we have an alumni discount. Do you want to say a little bit about that, Kay?
I think the information about that is online. Let me just bring that up. I think it's mainly our fees team that will look after that. But there is a full page on our website on discounts, bursaries that we do offer.
So generally speaking, it's a 10% discount, isn't it, for most courses if you're an alumni of the uni.
Yes.
Except law have some courses starting in September that's a 20% discount. So of course you're entitled to go elsewhere to take your postgrad studies by using things like Find Me a Masters. There's lots of different places you can look. You can look on prospectus.ac.uk for other courses, but you wouldn't necessarily get obviously get discount of your fees like you would if you remained with us at Leeds Beckett. So Kay's just going to talk you through, if you do want to apply to Beckett for a postgrad course, how that actual process plays out.
Yeah, so basically I think the first place you should start really when looking to apply for a postgraduate course is, as we've already mentioned, looking at the online prospectus and finding which course you want to apply for. Each course that we offer does have its own course page, so it's worth reading through that, and specifically the entry requirements for that course. As a lot of our courses do have specific entry requirements you will have to meet. So have a read of them, gather any documents that you might need which relate to those entry requirements. Maybe as you start submitting your application, so you can attach them to your application as you're going through. In terms of the deadlines, if some of our courses do have specific deadlines for applications, if a course that you're interested in does have a specific deadline, it will usually display that deadline in a yellow box towards the top of the course page. If you are unsure, feel free to drop us an email and we can let you know if there is a deadline. If there's no specific deadline on that course page, we do generally accept applications up to the start dates of courses, and often for a week or two after that start date. But again, if you do apply late, please contact us and we'll let you know when the specific deadline is.
Is it better to apply earlier rather than late though, Kay?
Yes,
if it
is
fills
definitely
up?
Something to, you are definitely better applying earlier, just so we have enough time to process your application, really, get your offer turned around and to be able to set you up for the course, really, and so you've got that sort of breathing space to basically wrap your head around it and access your induction information, do your online enrolment, and just have enough time so you're not rushing at the last minute. If you, once you do decide on a course and you wish to submit your application, and you're on the course page, you'll see like a pink apply now button. If you just hit that button, it should take you through to our application system, where you can register and then begin to submit your application. You'll just enter some details about yourself, and then you'll be able to search for the course you want to apply for. Once you've found that and selected how you want to study, like part-time or full-time, then you'll be taken through to the other aspects of the application that we need. There will be an application checklist within the application that will tell you what you need to submit on that application, what you need to include on that application before you can submit your application for the course. So that could be things like a personal statement. You'll have to put details of some referees down, as well as your qualifications that we need that are part of the entry requirements for the course. Obviously, some of you might not have finished studying yet. So if you do have a transcript, it would be great if you could attach that, or if obviously you're a current Leeds Beckett student, just make it clear on your application that you are a Leeds Beckett student, and then we can look up your records if we need to. Just to let you know that you can only submit one application at a time. So if there are several courses you want to apply for, you will have to submit separate applications for each of those courses. And again, it's worth checking the entry requirements for each course, as they could be different. So you might need to include different pieces of information depending on what you're applying for. Once you submit your application, we don't have a specific time frame usually for how long it takes to get you a decision or an offer. It just depends on that specific application and how long it might take to process it, but usually we do check applications a minimum twice a week.
Sorry, Kay, didn't mean to do that.
Sorry.
Got to find it now. Got to find the bar thing again.
Yeah, and obviously as we go through summer and we receive more applications, we will be checking more frequently than twice a week to start processing new applications. Hopefully, if you are a Leeds Beckett student, it will be more straightforward in terms of that turnaround and getting you that offer out. But if we do need anything further to support your application, we will put a request on your application portal, and you will receive an email asking you for that information that we need. We might have to send your application to the course team as well, depending on what you're currently studying and what that course you've applied for asks for. So that's why we do encourage people to include a personal statement with their application, because if it goes to a course team, that's what they will be looking at.
I guess that's quite important, especially if it's a course that is not 100% related to your undergraduate study.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in your personal statement, you should include like why you want to apply for a course. It doesn't have to be ridiculously extensive, but just include why you want to apply for the course, what interests you, maybe what experience you have within the subject area, if you do have any like work experience or anything from your undergraduate degree that could be relevant. It's definitely worth including all of those things. The types of offer you could receive, we generally just have two types of offer, either conditional or unconditional, which I'm sure most of you will be familiar if you've applied through UCAS, of receiving these two offers. At this time of year, we obviously do a lot of conditional offers based on people achieving the entry requirements from their degree, but that could also include references, English language, if English isn't your first language, or again, if it's a course that has more detailed entry requirements, we could put further things on there. Unconditional, we usually only make once applicants have obviously met all the entry requirements, then we would make them offers unconditional. In terms of anything else to consider, as we mentioned, I'd say while we do accept applications for most courses up to the start date, I'd recommend applying as soon as you can. Again, just so you've got that time to set up and enroll online and just prepare yourself, and obviously submit your student finance if that's how you're looking to fund the course.
Okay, is there a deadline to apply for student finance for a master's?
I don't think there is until after the course start date. Let me have a look. I need to see. I think it should be open now for postgraduate loan applications.
Because usually for undergraduate, if you don't apply by like May or something, then they don't guarantee your fees will be, and your maintenance loan will be available when you start the course. So I'm just wondering if it will be the same for
Yeah, I was looking, sorry, bear with me, it's just something I'll have to look up online, as I don't tend to have their dates online. So the deadline depends on when you start your course. Sorry, I'm just looking on Student Finance website and it's not entirely clear. I think
the links we put in earlier on to money advice, they would definitely be able to clarify that, wouldn't they? But I think generally speaking, the later you leave it, obviously there's processing time. So that
definitely.
If you want it to be available when you start, if you're starting a course in the autumn, then you'd need to be applying really now, I would think.
Yes, yeah. And again, just because obviously you want them both like set up and processed in time to be able to start. And just not have any stress really with getting all of that sorted. And yeah, as we previously mentioned, it's worth looking at the online prospectus to see how the courses are delivered, depending on what course you're doing. Some courses do have options for both distance learning and on campus, and also full-time and part-time. So it's definitely worth considering how you can study. And obviously if you have part-time jobs and things like that, how that's going to fit around work and things like that. And as I mentioned before, we do allow applicants to be able to defer. So if you applied for September, we will be able to defer you to January if that course had an intake for January, or to the following September. We can allow deferrals for one academic year.
Okay. Have you seen more courses being offering the alternative online route as well at the moment?
Yeah, it is becoming popular, I think, because it tends to fit around people who work full time. A lot of courses sometimes have various times that you can do distance learning over, so 2 years or 3 years. So yeah, it is getting more and more popular, and more courses are getting developed to be just distance learning. But obviously there are some courses that are more hands-on that maybe won't have that option.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a link there on the slide to the actual applicant portal. It just takes you straight through to it.
Yeah. Again, if you look at the course page, you can access that through the Apply Now button on each course page, and it's just our email addresses there as well. So if anybody does have any queries, just email us at either of those 2 email addresses, and we'll be able to answer queries.
Okay, thank you, Kay. That's brilliant. So just moving on to think about, does anybody have any questions for Kay that they'd like to raise at the moment? I'm just getting the bar up so I can see if there's any, so it does that. Here's the bar again. So I'm just looking for any questions that have come through on the chat function there, but there's nothing at the moment. So thinking about whether it's actually worth doing a postgraduate course. So in the careers team, obviously we want to give you impartial advice about whether it's the right thing to do. So there are some benefits from a postgraduate study. So you can see there the government's last year's graduate labour market statistics indicate that if you do a master's in particular, because I'm talking about that in the sense that that's where the funding is, then you're less likely to be unemployed, and you're more likely to be in what we call a highly skilled job, which is what we call professional managerial role. So they're 2 main reasons why you may want to think about doing a master's level qualification. So there are some benefits, definitely, and there are other benefits. For example, you may need to do that course to actually get into the job that you want to get into. So if you want to become a teacher, you have to do a teaching qualification, for example. And there are other areas where having that kind of professional qualification means that you can work towards that status, if you like. So if you want to train to be an accountant, for example, you would usually do some additional qualifications at postgraduate level that would enable you to qualify. So some definite benefits of doing postgraduate study. What about sort of the things that are not so good? You need to be realistic and think it is going to be more financial outlay. As we say, if it is a master's, you will get that loan, which you will repay in the same sort of way that you would your undergraduate studies. Kay and I are not from the sort of money or fees side, so it's really important that you contact Money Advice initially if you want help with funding through student finance or through a bursary or scholarships. There are 1 or 2 scholarships that you could access as well. But ultimately, if you can't, if you're not getting a bursary or a scholarship, it is more financial outlay if it's a loan that you have to repay. So you do have to think carefully about it. And I think it's really important to have a solid reason for wanting to do the course, rather than thinking, oh crikey, what am I going to do? I'll just do a master's. Well, it's maybe not the right reason to do that. It might be better to take some time out and to think about where you want to be in the future, and then take the option to do the masters maybe in a year or 2 when things are a bit clearer in your own mind. So yeah, just to clarify, student finance only offers loans basically for masters and doctoral study.
Should I explain the
go.
difference between a master's and a PG dip? And
oh yeah, go.
So
okay.
Some courses offer sort of, I guess, a breakdown of a course. So there's like a postgraduate certificate, a postgraduate diploma, and a full master's course. A full master's course tends to be 180 credits at master's, like level 7. A postgraduate diploma tends to be 120 credits, and we'll usually just miss out that final dissertation element at level 7, and a postgraduate certificate is 60 credits at level 7, so a third of a full master's. And Student Finance England will only fund those full masters 180 credit courses. They won't fund the PG cert or the postgrad diploma, so it's definitely worth considering. Some of our courses do come in PG dip or the full masters, so
yeah,
if you want that funding, then you would have to go for the master's choice.
Yeah, I've come across that quite a lot with things like counselling courses. There's different levels.
Yeah, I think our counselling courses, I think that's due to professional body maybe reasons, they are broken down into those separate segments, so unfortunately don't qualify for the student finance.
Yeah. Although having said that, there are some masters out there in therapeutic counselling and that sort of thing as
well.
But,
yeah. Unfortunately, ours are broken down, so you can't access that student finance alone, I'm afraid.
But it's good to be clear, isn't it? It's the Student Finance England funding is only available for the full master's qualification.
Yes.
And as we say, if you want help if you were looking at another course and you wanted maybe some access to other funding, then potentially Money Advice could point you in the direction of other bursaries and other funding from charitable organisations that is often out there. Thanks, Kay. Okay, so any questions for Kay or myself in terms of what to do next and postgraduate study? There's nothing in the chat box. Anybody to raise a hand? I'll come to you. We must have done such a good job, Kay, that nobody's got any questions. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You can give us some feedback, would be great, in the chat function. You can ask questions in there as well. Later we'll pick them up. But just if you'd like to give us some feedback in terms of this session, whether you found it useful, a 1 would be good for yes, a 2 for no, and be honest with us, and a 3 for not sure in the chat box. Thanks, Francesca. Yeah, brilliant. So if anybody else has got some feedback there, that will be great in the chat. Thank you. That's brilliant. So here's some of the contacts. So Kay gave you the admissions contacts, you've got money advice contacts, and here are careers contacts. That email is the most useful. If you get in touch with us, you can book in for a one-to-one telephone appointment to discuss your individual circumstances and next steps for you. And please also follow us. Hopefully you've seen our social media as well at Beckett Careers on Instagram and Twitter. There's a question, Kay, in the chat box. Francesca asking, I haven't had my final degree yet. How do you go about applying for a course without your final results?
Okay, Francesca, if you can submit your application without your final degree grade. You can, when you're submitting it, put your degree down as pending. Obviously, you're a Leeds Beckett student, so we can look up your student record and see that it is coming. And then hopefully, if we don't have everything we need to submit your application, we could, and don't need anything further, we could make you that conditional offer. And then once your final exam board has been and you've got your results, either contact us, or usually we do try and, once we realise exam boards have passed, try and look up everybody's results ourselves, so we can then get your offer updated. So like I say, just list your qualification as pending, and then hopefully we'll just be able to progress your application.
Because it's quite an unusual year, isn't it? Because it looks like some results are not going to be finally out until late July, early August now.
Yeah, so usually we would sort of get to a point where all Leeds Beckett current students, we would look to see if their exam boards have passed and update their offers. But obviously it's a bit staggered, I think, this year for a lot of exam boards. So if yours has passed and we haven't updated your results, please drop us an email or call us, and then we'll have a look and update your offer. Obviously, if you meet the entry conditions of your offer, we'll get that sorted.
Yeah, Francesca said her results are not being released till August, so I think that's going to be
so you, like I say, you can apply now, Francesca, and we'll start processing your application. That's probably best, and then hopefully get you that offer and update it in August once your results have been released.
Okay, brilliant. Any final questions before we close down? Well, great. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and thanks to Kay from Admissions for giving up your time this afternoon to be here. And so you've got our contacts if you want to get in touch in future. Anyone to progress your decision making and your applications. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.